guys, so this lesson is going to be about available tensions. Now, a tension is just an extra note that you can add to your basic seventh chord. So it's really just an extension of the seventh chord. So if your chord tones are the 1, 3, 5, and 7, then your tensions are the 9, 11, and 13, or alterations of these, so a flat 9 or a sharp 9 or so on. Now, there are two types of tensions, available tensions and unavailable tensions. Now, available tensions are extensions which complement the sound or the consonants of the particular chord you're playing, while an unavailable tension are extensions which conflict or clash with the consonants or sound of the chord. That is, the extension creates a dissonant interval with one of the chord tones. Now, while in theory all chord extensions and alterations exist on all chord types, in practice only available tensions are used. For example, you can create a C major 7 flat 9 chord. And this chord exists in theory, but you'll never actually find this chord in practice because the flat 9 is not an available tension over a major 7 chord. Now, the dissonant interval, which is thought to create an unavailable tension, is a flat ninth, that is an octave plus a semitone. So first, let's deal with all chord types except for dominant 7 chords, which are a little bit unique, so I'll deal with them at the end of this video. Now, up here in the picture-in-picture, I've listed a whole bunch of chord types. So I've listed the major 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, minor major 7, major 7 augmented, and diminished. Now, all the chord tones, the 1, 3, 5, and 7 of each particular chord, are colored blue. All the unavailable tensions are colored red, and all the available tensions are colored green. So for example, with C major 7, the chord tones are C, E, G, and B, and then the available tensions are the 9, sharp 11, and 13, and all the other extensions, all the other notes, are unacceptable tensions. Now notice that the cell directly to the right of a blue cell is always red. So that means that a note that is a semitone above a chord tone is always an unavailable tension because it creates that flat 9 interval when it's played an octave higher. So notice also that if there are two cells between any two blue cells, that is an interval of a minor third between two chord tones, then the available tension is always a semitone below the highest chord tone. So for example, C minor 7 has a minor third interval between the root C and the third E flat. And the available tension is the ninth, the natural ninth, which is D, which is a semitone below the higher chord tone. Now, if there are three cells between any two blue cells, that is, there's a major third interval between two of the chord tones, then the available tension is always in the middle of those chord tones. So again, taking the C minor 7, there's a major third interval between the third, E flat, and the fifth, G, which means that the available tension is the 11th, which is F, halfway between the E flat and the G. So using those sort of rules, we get the following. Over a C major 7, the available tensions are the 9, sharp 11, and 13. Over a C minor 7, the available tensions are a 9, 11, and 13. Over a C minor 7 flat 5, the available tensions are a 9, 11, and a flat 13. Over a C minor major 7, the available tensions are a 9, 11, and a 13. Over a C major 7 augmented, the available tensions are a 9 and a sharp 11. And over a C diminished chord, the available tensions are a 9, 11, flat 13, and the natural 7, which is actually a D diminished chord. And in fact, those two chords together form all the notes in a diminished scale, which I have a separate video on, so you can go check that out if you're interested. Right, so using that idea that in a minor third interval, the available tension is always the higher note, and in a major third interval, the available tension is always the middle note, we have found all the available tensions for all of these chords. And the only exception is with the C major 7 augmented chord, where there's a minor third interval between the G sharp and the B, but the B flat is not an available tension because that's the flat 7th, and that would change the quality of this chord to sound like a dominant chord, which is not what we want. So except for that little exception, all the rest of the chords here follow this general idea or rule. Now, dominant 7 chords are a little bit different because they're already considered to be quite dissonant, because by definition they always have a tritone interval between the 3rd and the 7th of the chord, and a tritone is considered to be quite another dissonant interval. Now, because dominant chords are already quite dissonant, you're allowed to sort of add more dissonance to them by using flat 9 intervals against the root and the 5th, but not against the 3rd and the 7th. Now, this is because the 3rd and the 7th are guide tones, and so they're more important to the chord. They define the quality of the chord. And so you don't really want to be clashing with the more important notes, but it's perfectly fine for you to clash with the less important notes, that is the root and the 5th. Now, taking a C7 chord, the chord tones are of course C, E, G, and B flat. Now, the available tensions are the flat 9, 9, sharp 9, sharp 11, flat 13, and natural 13. Now, as I said before, you're allowed to create flat 9 intervals against the less important notes, the root and the 5th. So that's what the flat 9 and the flat 13 do. But you're not allowed to create flat 9 intervals with the more important notes, the 3rd and the 7th. So you can't have a natural 9 or a natural 7th. And so this concept of available and unavailable tensions is actually quite similar to the concept of avoid notes, which I have a separate video on. And in a sense, avoid notes are unavailable tensions, just in a different context. Both create an unacceptable dissonance or clash with one of the chord tones. But avoid notes are in the context of scales, whereas unavailable tensions are in the context of chords. So for example, over a C major 7 chord, the 4th, the F, is considered an avoid note, and the natural 11th, the F, is considered an unavailable tension. So it's the same note and it's the same general idea, just one relates to scales and the other relates to chords. And so that's really it. So whenever you're learning a jazz song, you'll often find that whenever chord extensions or alterations are written in, they're always going to be one of the available tensions. Again, you'll quite often come across a C major 9 chord or a C major 9 sharp 11 chord, but you're never really going to come across a C major flat 9 chord or a C major natural 11 chord. And so if you're playing a song and you want to extend or alter a particular chord to create a more complex harmony or a jazzier sound, or if you're reharmonizing a song from scratch, then make sure you use available tensions so that the chord extension or the chord tension doesn't clash with the underlying harmony or the underlying consonance of the chord that you're playing, the chord type, the chord quality. And so this idea of available tensions is quite important when you're reharmonizing a song or you're just altering or extending a chord. Cool, and so that's really it. Thanks for watching again, guys. Feel free to leave any questions or comments, and thanks for watching. See ya.